Okay, let's see. Can give me a thumbs up if you can see my PowerPoint presentation. All right, awesome. Well, hello everybody. Hope you've been well. And we're gonna get started. Hope you don't see that. I don't know. Okay. Thank you. So something new at the bottom of the screen says sign in using the comment section with your first and last name. If obviously you're on your phone and you can't type because you're listening to the phone call portion, just make sure you sign in through the sheet that's going to be by the mailboxes tomorrow. But at least this way, if you are able to type your name, then it'll be recorded on this. And then if you are somehow not able to record your name, then you can just write it tomorrow on the sheet. Whichever one is going to count towards your attendance. So I just want to make sure that I give you 2 different ways to get that done. If you wanted to also, what's the strategy you want to share with other teachers that works well in your classroom? So some kind of secret strategy, something that's real basic that you know works well for you, but you want to make sure everyone else knows about it, or something you've discovered over your time in the classroom that works well. Some of us have lots more experience than others in different age groups, and it comes in handy when you want to share your knowledge, your wealth of knowledge. All right, let's see what we got. We got names. Oh, look how many people are here live. Awesome. We're going to get some good raffle names. All right. Let's make sure. Okay, so this is our January staff meeting. Thank you for those who are watching and listening live. And we're going to get started. There's a lot of important information, and I haven't been there to see you all, so it's very nice to see some of your faces on your video screens. Super staff member of the month of December. So remember, we're always a month behind. We're always talking about the month that just ended. This person is dedicated to her classroom and students. She's supportive and cooperative partner to her co-teacher. She's thoughtful in writing her lesson plans and when creating activities for her students, very thoughtful, and it's appreciated. Professional and respectful of fellow coworkers, which is extremely important when you're working as a team. Considerate of shared space, which can be difficult with school-age teachers and students sharing the same space as pre-K students in Building 2. Working hard on her partnership program with EESU of ECU, which is the program where NC pre-K teachers, they are enrolled and they have so much work to do their first and second years, but after that it's a breeze, but they get everything they need to be certified in North Carolina. And drum roll, please, the person is Miss Catherine. Yay, Miss Catherine, congratulations. So everything that you get for super staff member of the month, you're going to get a gift card, you're going to get a wonderful certificate and a card from us. And that will be by Friday. You'll get it all in your mailbox. So congratulations and thank you for everything you do. And we want to say a special mention of super staff member of the month of December. This person should have probably got it alongside everybody else for the months that we've had so far in 2022. But we want to say that this person amazingly supports all staff members and ensures they are well taken care of. They guide teachers through their path of continuing education and teach careers to grow as professionals. Professional throughout and considerate of the families we serve. She listens to staff and families to find best ways to support them. And she demonstrates best practice. And we couldn't run without her. And that is Miss Ruby. So we want to say thank you to Miss Ruby. She doesn't really get highlighted because we don't really do admin as often, but for everything that she's done over the year in 2022, we are amazed and we are very appreciative of everything that she did. And you know, if she got you to the TEACH program, enrolled in Stanley or Mount Olive and got you on that path, she does a lot of work just for one person to continue their education. So imagine 44 people who want to go and continue their education. And she's on top of it all, including everything else she does for staff files and paperwork and everything else I throw at her. So we are greatly appreciative of Miss Ruby. Thank you, Miss Ruby. Okay. Welcome to Sneeds for Equality. Now tell me if I missed somebody because I haven't been there, so I had to kind of go through messages and ask around. Miss Ruth Ann, we want to welcome you to Sneeds for Equality. She is currently a flex teacher learning her way around the different classrooms, but hopefully eventually she will work with our school age students. Haley, we want to say welcome to you. I believe you're working in room 3 as a teacher, learning the ropes in that room with our older 2s and Miss Emily. Thank you, Brittany, for confirming that. And welcome to you. And Miss Bree Howell is currently a flex teacher. And from what I understand, she's learning her ropes and seeing where she feels most comfortable. If you are new to the center or relatively new, people like Missy, you've been around for a little bit. We just want to say welcome. And remember, if you have any concerns or questions, just ask. Just come see us. You can just pop into the office. You can message one of us, because if we don't know you have questions or concerns, we won't be able to help you. And that's something Joyce always says. And I'll say it at the end of the meeting again. But it's very important to keep that in mind, because we have an open door policy and we want to make sure that you're all comfortable and you feel like you're in a safe work environment that supports you. So there you go. All right. Reminders. We are closed Monday, Martin Luther King Jr. Day. So please make sure you notify your families through ProCare. Lesson plans should be hanging and posted before Monday mornings. This is especially important because Ms. Kim Sherry is going to pop on in sometime soon. She already gave us that email that says she'll be around soon. So there should be no reason that we don't have our lesson plans ready for that Monday morning, even if you're sick at home. They should have been posted Friday, because then you don't even have to worry about what's going on in your classroom. They are set. Menus and schedules should be posted when received in the mailboxes, which is usually Thursdays or Fridays. There are times that sometimes the menus, they might not get to you till Monday morning, and we're sorry about that, but typically you'll have it in your mailbox by Friday, as well as the meal program. And schedules should be the same. Sometimes people do them different each season, but your schedule for your classroom should pretty much remain the same. Whiteboard should always be up to date with accurate counts. Please make sure you're counting your children in your classroom and you know how many are in there. When Kim pops in, she's going to say, how many are here today? How many enrolled? And we need to know that answer. So please make sure your whiteboards are up to date. You have your count written. You also have your things for Miss Pam for lunch counts written, all those specific things that people need for their students. And double, triple check your numbers and names in your classroom, especially towards the beginning of the day and the end of the day, when children are coming and going from your classroom and you're saying, okay, well, so-and-so just left. Make sure you go to that whiteboard, take off the name of the child who just left and recount. Make sure that the children in the room match the names on your whiteboard. Radio for administration when you are over ratio. Please don't yell down that hallway to somebody who, when Stephanie's working the floor in the morning or whoever's there with her, they will do their best to solve it as soon as possible. And we want to make sure that we are aware, but try to radio and say admin to room blank, and then they'll come hustling and fix the problem. But yelling down the hallway, I'm over, that doesn't look good when there's parents walking in and out of the building. Check and empty your mailboxes daily. Please make sure those mailboxes are cleaned out. You get lots of nice, new, important information. So we want to make sure that you are up to date and have plenty of space for those wonderful papers we give to you. Supply list should be turned in by the Wednesday of each week. Now, if you know you're going to have things that are like tough to order, especially if things are slow to get delivered lately, make sure that you give that supply list to Brittany way ahead of time. If you're going to have this magical week of lesson activities and you have things that are very obscure, you want to make sure that you get those things in. Send the supply list 2 weeks or 3 weeks in advance, so you know those are going to be ordered and in by the time you teach those lessons. Reimbursements, and I've said this many times, but I still keep getting receipts without people getting them approved, and that means sometimes there'll have to be a big no on what we give back in the reimbursement department, especially if we already have those things in the supply closet or another teacher has those items. They can just let you borrow it for that time period, and then we can return it back to their classroom, or you can be the new owner of that item if they don't need it anymore. But please make sure your reimbursement requests are approved before you go shopping, because if you go on a shopping spree and you have many hundreds of dollars worth of products and we already had those things, I'm going to say, I'm sorry, I can't reimburse you, and that would stink. So please make sure you get it approved first. Closing checklists. If you are brand new, you may not be accustomed to seeing this every day yet, but you will be. If you are a closer or you're around until, people who even leave at 4:30 should be doing some of the things that are on this list for their teachers or their co-teachers. There are some important things to keep in mind, that the toys need to be sprayed each evening. Anything that children touch, they need to be sprayed down with sanitizer solution and make sure that it air dries. If you're in a toddler, an infant, or a twos classroom and you have dirty toys that have been mouthed, those need to be put into the bleach solution. They need to go ahead and be rinsed way after they've dried, and then we can put them back in the shelves. But we want to make sure that our kids are not just taking these items, you're spraying them maybe once or twice a week, and they just keep getting put back in the mouth, bacteria grows, and that's how these children get ill and you get sick. So please make sure that you are keeping up with the closing routines of each classroom. Refill, big refill the sanitizer disinfectants. They can't be poured on top of the solution that's still in there, because that's going to make it more concentrated. And if Kim, sanitation, or just anyone in general goes to test that bleach solution that was supposed to be sanitizer, but now it's so strong that it's actually disinfectant, that's a big no-no. That's a violation. But also, that strength of that bleach solution, it becomes so strong that it's not safe to be around kids anymore as sanitizer. So you do have to make sure that you dump out the bottle, fill it back up, and then bring it back to the room. Your soaps, those are the ones that can be just topped off as your soap solution, because the soap solution, it won't get stronger as it sits. Your water jugs. Every Friday, they should be cleaned out. You just grab the little green scrubby that Pam has, some hot water and soap, and you make sure that those water jugs are clean, especially the spouts, because you can notice after time, there'll be some little black spots. That's mold growing, and we don't want mold growing. So we want to make sure that they're washed in hot, soapy water every Friday, at least. If you're a person who likes to clean them every time, you go for it, because that's even better than just doing Fridays. And then the trash. Please don't leave the trash bags sitting in the hallway and leave the building. Make sure that when you're closing a classroom or you're doing someone a favor, you're grabbing that trash bag and bringing it all the way to the dumpster. And that way the hallway's nice and clean and pretty while parents are walking in and out, and they're not surrounded by a dumpster as they're walking through the hallway. So we want to make sure that our school is very inviting and parents know that we are striving to keep their child's space clean. Okay. And then the rest apply to infants and toddlers. So making sure that those things are taken care of. Obviously, there's more to do in infant and toddler classrooms, hence they close at 5:30 instead of 6 o'clock. New hires. Ooh, I got a typo, sorry. Please do not park in the row in the front of the building. These spots are reserved for student drop off and pickup only. So the ones that are closest to the front door, please leave those free for parents who are paying for our service. We want to make sure that they are able to bring their children, especially if they have 3 kids, they're wrangling them, but then they got to go park at the breakfast house. That's not nice. So we got to make sure that we clear out that front area for them. Please save staff spots in the second row for staff with children, especially those itty bitties that have to be carried in with many things, or for the adults who have difficulty walking. So, those old folks that got to come in and they can't park all the way at Cancun, we'll make sure that they get a spot. All right. Next to the second building in Cancun is where we can also park there. You notice that when I was at work, that's where I'd be parking. And then it's actually easy to come in through room 6 and then go straight to where you need to go from there, because that gate is open until 9 o'clock when Ruby comes in. Clock in at most 5 minutes before your shift starts or before your lunch hour is over, because if you tack on another 10 minutes or something like that and then clock, you'll notice that it's skewing your time. So we want to make sure that it's just about 5 minutes or less before your shifts start. And then what else? Oh, if you have concerns.
I just want to let people know I did payroll today, and there's a lot of people that I still have. I know that's been said many times, but I'm still having to change a lot of people's times. If you have children and you're coming in with your own children, bring them to their classrooms first, get them set up. Nobody's saying you can't come in the building until 5 minutes before. You absolutely can. Do whatever it is you need to do. By all means, you can come in whatever time you want to come in. But please do all those things that you need to do beforehand and then sign in.
Yeah, very true. Make sure you use the restroom first, you drop your lunch off in the kitchen, you drop your children off first, and then you clock in. So that way also it's not personal time that's being used on the clock in addition to that.
Also, another thing is lunches. There are still people that are signing in early after lunches, half-hour lunches, or whatever the case may be. If it has not been pre-approved for whatever the reason, please do not cut your lunches short. We have a lot of staff. We have no reason to really have to be cutting lunches short. You need that break, take that break. But all those things add up to a lot of overtime, and we can't be paying out overtime when our payroll is astronomical, and we don't need the overtime because we have plenty of staff. So please be aware of when you're signing in and when you're signing out, and take your full lunch, and don't be signing out way after you've gotten out. Thanks.
Yeah, good point. And then Brittany asked me to mention that the garbage pails on the playground have a bag in them because now they're zip tied to the fence, so they don't fly away. But please make sure that your emergency bags that go outside with you every day for playground time, you just put garbage bags in there, and that way you can line it with the garbage bag, and when you go in with your kids, you take the garbage bag with you, and that way the next group that goes in, out, they don't have a bag full of cups or trash. It's not left there overnight and then it goes all over and those things fly everywhere. So you go out with the garbage bag, line the garbage pail, take it with you when you leave for the playground, and it should be nice and neat out there for everybody who's playing. And then we're just being considerate of the next group too. If you're a flex teacher, ask teachers you're joining what you can do, jump in, get your hands dirty. And seasoned staff members are there to support you and help you learn. So if you have questions, those are the people you go to and ask them what you should be doing and how it should be done. And they should also be guiding you if they see something is done not the way that we should be doing it. Okay. See, I think I had another message. Okay, so questions about lead teachers and co-teachers and flex teachers. You know, what are the responsibilities of each? So I've done this before, but I want to make sure that the lead teachers know that they are guiding and teaching the other people who are joining them in their classroom. Now that doesn't just fall on the lead teacher because typically a lead and a co are teammates. However, the lead teacher is responsible for the lesson plans. The co-teacher can support them and help planning the lessons, but ultimately it's on the lead teacher to make sure that activities are planned, that students are engaged, and that the classroom has the structure that it needs to run smoothly. So thinking about the ITERs, ECHRs, and SAKERs requirements, that's a lead teacher's requirement, is to make sure that things are the way they should be, so that if we were to ever get star rating and say they just dove in and came and tried to assess us, everything would be as it should be for those assessments. And you guys are helping your fellow teachers. Let's see. Oh, and you're working with students, whole groups, small groups, one-on-one. You're directing the other adults in the classroom on what they should be doing in the classroom and making sure that everybody has a job. So they're all engaging students, have a purpose. Now, towards the bottom here, I did preschool resources. Some people are not aware that there is a teaching strategies alignment to NC foundational standards. So I have the entire teaching strategies creative curriculum guides. There's one in NC pre-K's building, and there's one entire guide in the main building as well. Please use those theme the books are there for you. The Mighty Minutes are there for you, and the standards are written for you. So all you have to do is pick up one of the theme books and use it with your students as a resource. And there is what you need to have developmentally appropriate activities for your students. And then you can see what should be done in whole group, small group, and one-on-one, and guide the people who come into your classroom with what's already being provided by the teaching strategies books. There's also the NC Foundations. I put the actual PDF of it, so you don't have to bring that book home with you to put your standards in. Oops. Oh, I'm clicking links. Okay. Co-teachers. Other schools call them assistants, but we call them co-teachers because you are a teammate in the classroom. So these individuals are, like I said, a teammate in the classroom. They are equally as important working with students. They just don't have a lot of the lead teacher responsibilities on their shoulder, but they are actively engaged in the classroom every day, and they're regularly working with students. Flex teachers. These individuals can go to various age groups, but we typically like to keep them steady in the same age group so they become familiar with the students and the classroom routines and expectations. Then we have them supporting sometimes as a substitute if needed and as an as-needed basis. But they are also always engaged with students. So the lead and the co will tell the flex teacher, okay, this is what we're doing and this is what your job will be for this time period. Maybe you need them to work one-on-one with a specific child. Maybe you need that flex teacher to work with this small group on this specific skill while you do these things. So just making sure that you know what you expect from your flex teachers when they enter your classroom. And as a flex teacher, be ready to dive in. All right. Oh, and then leave the communication with families to the lead teachers and the co-teachers, please, if you're a flex teacher. So you may have been there all day as the substitute, but it gets a little messy sometimes when the flex teacher who's only been there for that day speaks to the parents about a big issue that happened or something that they believe is repetitive of this one child, but the lead and the co have already been working with the family on this issue. So if you have a concern, address it with admin or the lead or the co, whoever you're with that day, and they'll be able to manage and address it with the family. Because someone new stepping in and telling their family that their kid's got a problem when they're well aware of what the issue is, they've been working on it with the teachers, and they have a plan together, it doesn't bode well. So please make sure that if you do have a concern, you bring in admin or you address one of the teachers who's a regular in the classroom. Okay, and you could be a level 8. So if you have a bachelor's in a different field, you just have to take one class, one 3-credit class that's 8 weeks long, and you get to be a level 8. That increases your pay significantly because it's very valuable to the center to have people who are rated level 8. So please make sure that if that looks like you and you have your bachelor's in a different field and you want to take that one class to get your level 8, see Ruby or message me, whatever you need to do so we can get you on that class and get you set up so you can get that pay raise. All right. And you need both your letters, your works letter and your EEC letter for that to be valid. So please make sure that you tell us that and we'll get you set up with your letter because Ruby's very good at being on top of that stuff. You just have to include her in that. All right. Guiding children to avoid injury, making sure that we are guiding them with a flat hand against their back. I say this every time, I sound like a broken record, but we still have teachers who are taking a child by the hand and pulling them up. And then their arm is in the wrong position because they're struggling and the teacher is still trying to pull them to stand up. Once a child drops their body, once a child starts to struggle and their arms are going all over different positions that they shouldn't be in, let go of their hand, let them drop carefully to the ground like they wanted to, and then we can proceed from there. Let them be on the ground and you can address them. You can say, when you're ready, I'll be over here working on with so-and-so, but I can't help you right now. I'll be here when you're ready. However you want to address it, but making sure that the child knows you're aware of what they're doing, that they're aware that you're still there for them and you can move on. But grabbing their arm and they're flailing and they're throwing a fit in that moment, it's just, they're not going to listen to you and what resolutions you want to provide. So we want to make sure that they've de-escalated first. And that's what Cozy Center is for, and that's what all the strategies that we've been working on in each staff meeting, those are for. Okay. And then if they're an itty bitty, you can always pick them up, but any of the children who are 3 and up or some 2 and up, they probably can't be lifted safely and comfortably. They'll be flailing and kicking, and they just could hurt you if they're too big. So that's why if it's a child you can comfortably hold and comfort, this way, that's great. But when they get too big for us, or you have something that you're concerned about, bad knees, you're pregnant, things like that, then don't pick them up, please, just for your safety and theirs. And take a deep breath before addressing a child, because at this point, if they're in distress, then you've gone through all these little moments with them. So you may also be in distress. So taking that deep breath, practicing your star breathing is very important before you address the child in distress. And never grab or jerk a child's arm or body. There's always a safer way. Okay, and then we talk about the playgrounds all the time too. So it's the first thing everyone sees. It's the first thing families see. It's the first thing that Kim sees when she comes to observe us. And it's the one thing that we want to make sure that when people see, that we can still be proud of. Now, we know that there's these holes that are developing on the playground material, and the gentleman is mailing and shipping us the mixture of the materials so that Dan can hopefully address it this weekend if it gets delivered by Friday as promised. So those holes will be patched. But for the holes to have started and to grow so large and to have so many, it's mostly because probably the kids are starting to pick at it because it gets fun, and seeing the material come up gets really enticing. So please make sure you're keeping a special eye on the kids, especially after the patchwork is done, making sure that they're playing on the structure, not the solutions, but not playing with it. We don't want them playing with it. We want it to last a really long time. And so far it hasn't even lasted more than a year. So keeping the playground surfacing safe, please make sure you're watching those kids and make sure they're not picking at it. And if you've broken or cracked toys, please notify someone in admin or Mr. John, and he will make sure that the cracked portion or the broken toy comes out of the playground, and he can address it that way. Making sure you're always supervising children. Please don't ignore the kids and get busy doing something else. Always make sure your body is facing them, and try to get creative on the different ways that you position yourself while doing other things so that you are supervising the children at all times. If you see chaos at the end of the playground, don't just yell down there and expect to resolve the problem. You got to physically get yourself over to what's happening and helping them address it, making sure you have even tones, and you can redirect the children or help them resolve it with problem solving skills and strategies. But making sure that if you're the only person on the playground, which is very rare, it only typically happens at the very end of the day, then you need to make sure your eyes are everywhere. But if you are with a co-teacher on the playground, you are stationing yourself where you can both view the children and supervise them, and one of you is always close to the other end, so that you're at a smart spot on the playground, and will reduce the amount of incidents that we have. Okay. I just said all this, making sure there are no cell phones out. We're not showing children videos that I've heard about other centers. They like to take out a cell phone and show these kids these videos. That is a big no-no. We do not take out cell phones. We don't show children videos on the playground. If you're going to show a video, it's an educational video, and it's for ages 3 and up, preschoolers. And you have to fill out the technology log. So you got a lot to do just to show one short clip, making sure that you follow all those regulations. All right, I already talked about all those last time. Supervision and tone of voice. Please make sure you can use a big voice, which is that voice that is steady and stern, and you mean what you say what you mean what you say. But then there's those harsh tones that we don't want to be using, and the yelling that we don't want to hear being used. So making sure you know the difference. There are other trainings that I have on our YouTube page that go over what a big voice is versus harsh and angry tones. So knowing the difference and knowing how to use your big voice. Making sure you get down on the level of the students. You're looking at them eye to eye and you're addressing them, showing the children that level of respect. When you hear them, you're there to support them, and you're going to work with them to resolve their problems. Now, if they're having a fit and they're rolling their body and kicking their feet, that's not the time to get on their level. You're just going to get whacked. So making sure that you give them some time, you reassure them that you're there for them. And then when they've soothed themselves or they needed some help soothing themselves, then you go back and address it. Okay, so phrasing is important. We talk about this all the time. These are two different options, and thinking about Are they basically the same phrase? Are they somewhat the same? Are those just different words that people are using? Are they somewhat different or completely different phrases? So I have this up here. I'm only going to do one example, but you're welcome to come back to it because I send you the PowerPoint. But there's this one here. Thank you for cleaning up versus you picked up all the toys so others can find them later. That was helpful. So in my eyes, thinking about these two phrases, we can thank a child for cleaning up, but even more specifically, we can tell them why it's beneficial that they cleaned up. So those are two very different phrases in my eyes because I'm giving the reasoning behind it and how it was helpful for the rest of their classmates. So thinking about how you phrase things and how you speak to the students, there's ways that are acceptable, but then there are ways that really support the kids and have them understand the why behind what they're doing. And as adults, we like to know the why. Why are you making me do this, Shannon? But you want to know the why, that's really beneficial as an adult. So think about why the why is beneficial as a child in the classroom. They want to know, why am I doing this? And you're able to give them that little extra word or those two extra phrases in there, and that helps them. Yes, so we'll talk about, okay, so the trash for Rachel. I'll make sure that I tell them. Okay. Phrasing with positive choices. I just snipped this from a brochure for conscious discipline. You're welcome to read it at your own time, but you're giving them those two positive choices that we've talked about before when you're trying to get them to do something. And they're more likely to do it because you're giving them the power of choice. So for example, at the bottom of here, it says it's time to clean up. You can start by picking up the art pencils or putting your papers away, which is best for you. So along those lines, I'm giving them what the job's going to be and then what your two choices are. There are two yes choices from me. I'm going to say yes to either one of those. So now you get the power to choose. And they are more receptive to that. This is something that Ruby gives to all new hires, but I thought it was appropriate to bring in here. It's a copy that goes to you and it tells them what to do instead of, let's see. So here are the phrases: avoiding, don't run, we're going to say, or model, walk, use walking feet, stay with me, or hold my hand. So these are things that we're stating for the child to do versus the negative of don't run, because we just put run in their brain even more so. Or maybe we've said don't run and now this little guy's like, oh, I'm going to run because I heard the words. So to avoid that conflict, you talk about walk, use walking feet, stay with me, or you can hold my hand. And those using that even tone, that big voice that we have, then we're directing the child on what we expect to see. And then you can even give them that positive reinforcement, which is right here next to it. You're holding my hand. That is so respectful. You walked across the classroom. You made a safe choice. You are walking beside me and keeping me company. That is so friendly. So making sure that you're reinforcing what they have been told to do with your even tone with a positive, little positive added at the end. So this is available in copies for you, but also it's right here in the PowerPoint when I send it to you for you to review. But these are some common things we hear: no yelling, or stop yelling, or don't touch that. Don't hit, no coloring on the walls, stop playing with your food, don't play in the water or the sink, which we see with the toddlers sometimes. We want to tell them what we want to see because they love playing with water out of the sink. Who wouldn't? We have to show them and teach them, model for them what's expected, and then give them that positive reinforcement. Okay. So this is helping toddlers regulate. This is one of the many videos that I just put into this PowerPoint. I am going to only show you this one. However, the other ones I think are also just as important, but we usually do Ecker's type videos instead of Itter's videos. So I wanted to show you one that was more for toddlers and twos. And that way we kind of do our little balance. But it also works to every age group, making sure that we help them to regulate their emotions because this is a learned skill. They don't just come out of the womb knowing how to do it. We have to teach them. All right. All right, I'm gonna make sure it's loud enough. Okay.
Ruler is an evidence-based approach for integrating social and emotional learning into schools. Ruler is an acronym that stands for recognizing, understanding, labeling, expressing, and regulating emotions. helping toddlers regulate emotion using Ruler. Building warm and trusting relationships with young children is foundational to creating an emotionally safe environment in early childhood classrooms. Ruler helps teachers create an emotionally safe environment by providing a framework for modeling and teaching emotional intelligence. In the following scenario, watch how a teacher uses Ruler to help a child regulate her emotions
So
when she
hard.
feels nervous about new people visiting the classroom. As you watch, look for evidence of ways the teacher is supporting Ella's ability to recognize, understand, label, express, and regulate her emotions.
Take the Christmas. Give me the truck.
Say please, please. Just once, please.
It'll make him so happy.
I will leave it alone the rest of the night.
If you so please. Jesse doesn't have to leave you alone. That's a lot of salt. Like a lot. Stop.
Yes.
Hold on. Somebody's not muted. Hold on. Okay.
Okay.
How many RULER skills were you able to identify in that clip? If you would like to learn more, keep watching. As you saw, Ella was feeling nervous about the new faces visiting her classroom. Watch how the teacher recognizes and labels Ella's feelings. The teacher then helps Ella understand the causes of her feelings as she describes to her what is happening in the classroom.
Do you remember with the experience with my friends? Yeah.
Next, the teacher lets Ella know that the way she is expressing her feelings is okay.
Okay.
Finally, the teacher uses a number of different regulation strategies to help Ella feel less nervous and to feel more comfortable having visitors in the classroom. Notice how she redirects Ella's attention to her classmates, uses a calm tone of voice, and holds and rocks her as she sings. The language and modeling teachers use with infants and toddlers lays a foundation for children to recognize emotions in themselves and others, understand the causes of their emotions, and develop vocabulary to label their emotions, ultimately helping children feel safe expressing their emotions as they learn strategies to regulate them throughout the day. You've seen how this teacher used Ruler to support Ella when she was feeling nervous. To solidify your learning, try to come up with your own ideas for other ways Ruler could be used to help Ella regulate her emotions.
Okay. So that had to do with toddlers and regulating emotions, but I think Ruler could be used with every age group. It can be used for working with adults. So just the acronym is helpful to make sure that we are addressing the students' needs in the classroom. And then we have those ways of guiding them in our tool belt. So you are not without those tools. You are able to bring them out and whatever works for each child. You have an abundance of tools to choose from, and that's why we do these. So you have a bunch of options to work with. So this is another video. I'm not going to show it to you, but this is building emotional literacy, and this includes more preschool age students. It's a very useful video. It was sent to us from by Chantel, and so were the other few from Chantel. So if you want to take the opportunity, when I send this out, you will have the ability to watch these videos. They're all right here for you in the PowerPoint, and I included them so that you kind of like a one-stop shop for all this information. This is about smooth transitions and separation anxiety. This one I do want to show you a little bit of because I have a feeling that it could be extremely helpful to our classrooms that have those children who are in emotional distress when they get dropped off. It's been a week for them and they are still at the same point every time they get dropped off. And maybe there's something in the video that can help you support them when they're in that distress state. Because it's difficult to leave mom and dad or grandma, grandpa when you have never been in childcare before, you've never been in preschool before, and your teacher may not have all those tools in their tool belt to come and support you, or they think they're supporting you, but in the end, they're not doing all they could do because it's overwhelming. And sometimes we don't even think about these things because you have 20 other children to work with, and that one child who's in emotional distress, you want to make sure you're there for them, but you also need to be there for your 20 other children. So this one, I'm going to show you a brief part of it, and then it's 7 minutes. I'm not sure all 7 minutes.
Toddler or preschooler to express sadness over being separated from you for an extended time. As a child gets used to being without his mommy or daddy in his new environment, separation anxiety can show itself in several ways. He might cry at drop-off on the first day. He might be fine at first, but protest after the newness of school has worn off. Or he might not cry at all, but is clingier than usual or shows general uneasiness about going to school. Young children don't have emotional control yet, so it's to be expected that they will show us when they feel sad. Separation anxiety can last for as little as 2 days and as long as a couple of months. Inside the port classrooms and on the playgrounds, we balance a sympathetic response with getting your child involved with the activities of his Montessori environment. We acknowledge a child's bad feeling and give him time to recover, but we discourage him from staying immersed in his sadness for long. This means we soothe the child by holding his hand, hugging him, rubbing his back, or inviting him to sit with an adult for a while. If he continues to cry, we check back in with him regularly, but ease off the offer of physical comfort in favor of getting involved. How do we get him past the tears? Depending on the situation, teacher might invite a tearful child to stay close to her as she goes about the room or the playground working with other children. She might pair him up with an older student to do an activity. She might give him a presentation with a Montessori material. She might show him something familiar or read him a comforting book. Or she might show him the snack routine, always soothing. Especially with our youngest students, distraction can be a very effective tool for a tough separation. Sometimes parents worry, is it okay if my child cries or makes a big scene? Will the teacher be mad? Keep in mind that teachers see separation anxiety in its many forms every day.
Okay, I just wanted to be able to share those little ideas that this is for parents who are enrolling their children in this specific school, but it's helpful to see the different ideas that would be presented to parents, that this is how we're soothing your child and we're going to find what works for them. Especially the little ones, just like she said, distractions are especially helpful, but also understanding that our job is to teach them that self-regulation and emotional regulations. So making sure that we show them the different things that they can do instead of standing there in that state of distress. And it takes a while. It's going to take some children weeks. We've had children who it's taken almost months to get really used to the environment of a classroom. And it's like a team effort. Having the parents join in to support their child is extremely necessary, because if they're not on our team, it becomes very difficult to support that child. And then they're transitioning into the classroom. We need mom and dad, grandma, grandpa on our side, and we need to show them or tell them this is what they can do to support the process. And most parents are very receptive. They want their child to have a smooth transition into the classroom.
It's not
All right. This is Making Transitions Fun by Dr. Jean Feldman. She has different finger play activities for you. So this is great. If you have your kids sitting at a table ready for lunch, but they can't touch their toys, they can't touch the other materials in the classroom, but you need to make sure that everyone transitions to get ready for lunch. These activities are perfect because all they need are their two hands, and you can teach them different things and work on different skills and songs with them. And that's what she focuses on. So if you want to watch her, she gives some great little ideas. She's a little silly, but she gives good ideas. All right. So incident biting and non-injury reports and ABC charts. These are all legal documents. So they have to be completed with black or blue ink, making sure that you only use blue or black ink on these forms. We only provide black pens, but some people choose to bring in their blue pens. That's fine. Either one will work. Just no pink or green or anything like that. Complete all the sections on each form. Now, this is tricky because if you're relatively new or you're new to the classroom, you may not know some of the specific sections on what to put. So that's when you have to reach out to someone or radio for admin, and they will come help guide you with the paperwork. Check rosters for full names of students. This is in the tablet that you have under ProCare and the meal program for My Simple Menu, or it's on the meal program clipboard that you have in the classroom. So it should have the first and last name of the children who are enrolled in that room. And when you're writing a report, an incident, a biting, a non-injury report, just the facts, ma'am. We don't need emotion in it. We don't want to assume what the child was feeling or thinking. What happened as a witness to the event, and that's all we're going to include. Now, if you didn't witness the event, then you need to make sure that either the person, the adult who did, or if you're going by what you've noticed on the child, make sure, like you noticed a little scratch on little Billy's face and it was noticed at 3 o'clock, that's all you can write because you don't know what happened to little Billy. Now, if little Billy knows what happened to him and he tells you matter-of-factly, I scratched myself because of my long nail right here, then most likely you can write that down. But if little Billy's not quite sure, he might have fallen, he thinks so-and-so did it, that's where video can come in. We have cameras everywhere, and that is why we have them, so that we can make sure that everything is accurate, especially when writing incident reports or non-injury reports. Because like we said, they're legal documents, so we want to make sure that they are accurate. So just call for admin, radio admin to room whatever. Can you please check the video for this point in time? Make sure you know at the time, and then they'll go back, or I'll go back and watch and make sure that it is accurate. Little Billy was telling the truth, and then we can put it down on the paperwork. Okay, and the incident reports have that carbon copy paper. So we want to make sure that we keep the original as often as possible, but some parents, when they tear it off, they take the white sheet. That's fine. I mean, as long as we have a copy, it's going to work because we just put it right into the file. And the biting and non-injury reports, they have been orange and red, so we want to make sure that those are noticed by families and signed by parents, families, and then they are returned to the office on Michelle's desk. She has a little black tray. She gets all those incident reports so that they can be filed in the child's file. And the ABC charts are kept in the classroom. Those are anecdotal behavior and consequences. So those are more so when you're trying to build a case for a child who has struggles in the classroom emotionally, physical altercations, or they are having a difficult time regulating, and everything you're doing is not really working. So we want to make sure that we document. And if you need help understanding an ABC chart, Ruby, myself, we can guide you through that and make sure that the documentation is there so that when you're building the case for an IEP or you're building the case for a behavior management plan, that's what we're going to use for the family. And they can bring it with them to their pediatrician. So we want to make sure it is accurate and concise. Okay. And then we were just talking about this with Joyce, that we love that you love to work, but we want to make sure that everyone takes their hour break for lunch. And if you are asked to work overtime and you accept the work of overtime, then it will be counted as overtime. But please don't take it upon yourself to stay and assume that that will be paid overtime. Because if we have the staff, then your 40 hours will never take your 40 away from you unless you want to go home early and we offer it. But the over 40 won't be counted unless we asked you for it. So please make sure that if you take it upon yourself to not take a lunch, we're not going to be able to pay you that extra hour because we budgeted for people to go and take their lunches and to work their 40 hours a week. Now, people are sick all the time, and especially during flu season, there may be days when we say, hey, is there anyone who can work overtime and you want that extra time? We will be happy to give it to you. But making sure that it is asked and approved before it is taken, then we want to make sure that you get the time you deserve and the pay you deserve for it. So just keep that in mind. And let's see, the 5-minute rule, we were just talking about that. And again, if we're way overstaffed, yep.
I'm sorry, one other thing, because I know you have said overtime, and that is absolutely true. But there are also a lot of times when people are not here a day or take half days or whatever the case may be, and they want to make those hours up. If we need you, we're more than happy to do that. And I usually will offer it to those people who are shorted hours if we need somebody. But you can't just make up those hours because you want to get paid for it when we don't need you. We had to cover you when you weren't there. So, you know, I understand everybody wants to make sure they're getting their full 40 hours, but we can't, if you aren't there at the designated time you were supposed to be there, we can't make up for it at a different time when we don't need you. We're not just going to pay you because you want the money. So I just want to be clear on that.
That's true. Yeah, if you were scheduled for your 40 and you worked all 40, that's your 40. But we can't make up time when it's not needed because you had to take the day off or you had to leave early. That's true. Yeah, I want to make sure that is clear too. Okay, trainings that must get done. Ruby is on top of this. She will tell you what you need, but please make sure that you know these are live links. So you can click these links and take care of your trainings if you go right into this PowerPoint. So you have all these different options. SIDS is now mostly in person, so you won't really see too many online offerings for SIDS courses. But NC-FELD is self-paced, so you can take that at your leisure in your pajamas. You're recognizing and responding to child maltreatment. That has to be done within the first 6 weeks of employment. So please make sure you are tackling that if you're new. Your health and safety trainings are through Moodle, and those are within your first year, but we like you to do them within your first 6 weeks because then you don't have to worry about them again. And the EDU 119 and the Teach Scholarship is up for anyone who works full-time. So if you are a full-time employee and you want to go for your college degree, go for it. It is completely covered and paid for. All your books are paid for, and you get a bonus and you get pay raises for finishing schooling, which is amazing. And we love to have that. So please make sure you're taking advantage of it. And then CPR and first aid is taught by Ruby. And the next one, and myself, when I come back, I will also be alternating with Ruby again. But thank you, Ruby, for teaching CPR this next time. And open door policy, like we always say, if we don't know that there's a problem, we cannot help you resolve it. This is Joyce's saying. We say it every time at the end of every meeting. And everyone deserves to be happy and enjoy their work environment. So please be a role model for your students and treating everyone with respect. That golden rule comes into play. And positivity is contagious, but so is negativity and the gossip. So let's try to keep all that drama for your llama mama and don't bring it into school. And that way everyone gets along. We love it. Anyone have any questions for the good of the group? Okay. Well, I miss everybody, and I hope you're all having a wonderful week. Happy New Year. And I will be back probably in the next couple weeks, and we're going to make the next staff meeting in person. So that's exciting, and we'll tell you all the details and way in advance for that, because we want more people to be able to actually physically be at the meeting. So you'll get at least a week and a half notice. Yeah, and that was a cool idea, that the hammering of the golf tees into the styrofoam. That's a great center activity. And to continue to pray for Miss Donna, she needs it. Her husband is still in the hospital, but I understand that they made an improvement today. So we want to say we're thinking of her and her husband, and our prayers are with her. So if you have questions about that, because you're not aware of it, you can ask somebody in admin, and we'll be happy to fill you in on what's going on. All right, have a wonderful
There was
evening,
one
everyone.
other thing, Sherry, can I
sorry.
just say real fast?
Yeah,
before you
sorry.
close out? I meant to say it earlier today on our walkie-talkies, and I didn't get a chance to, or on our message thing. With the cold coming in, we had a little four-legged furry friend that made his way in. We're hoping it's one, but we really don't know because we haven't gotten him yet, to the best of our knowledge. We have called exterminator. He has come in, he has put out traps, and we are working on getting him. But a lot of people during the winter break, they did clean out their closets and get rid of any food that was in there. I want to remind everybody again to please make sure that they do not leave any loose food out in your classrooms, crackers, cereals, anything like that. If you need an enclosed bin to put it in, we'd be more than happy to give you one, a refrigerator, big refrigerator dish or something like that. Just putting it in a Ziploc bag will not help. They will chew right through that. Even if it is not opened yet. That's a huge problem in the kitchen because we can't put all of the food that's in the kitchen in bins. So unfortunately, there, have been rare instances where they found their way in, but in the classrooms, please don't leave anything like that in there. We want to try and keep them out of the classrooms, keep them out of the building, period. And we are working on getting rid of it. But if everybody can do their part by making sure that you clean up crumbs right away after lunches and snacks, make sure you put crackers away right away so that they're not being left out, and don't store them in containers that are not completely sealed. Also, if you can try and make sure that like your closets are kept clean, and if you see any droppings, you let us know. If it's droppings, we don't know whether it's old or new. It could be over the past few weeks. Some of those closets, it could be even longer than that. So we have no idea. But if you can try and get them clean, if you have some spare time or an extra staff member, and make sure that we can get rid of anything that's there. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, have a great evening, everybody. Bye.